family. Welcome to the Quantum Leap Your Life Summit. I'm so grateful to share with you again. I have a special friend here with us today, Mr. Ray, Doktor. Yes, that is his real name. He was predestined to be an incredible doctor. It's so wonderful to be with you, Ray. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I still remember being first grade, second grade when they call the kids their last name first.
Yeah.
I was Dr. Raymond.
Oh, that's so
2,
sweet.
3, 4. Always was with me since I was a kid. So
no, it's so beautiful. I love it. And so Ray is a new friend who recently kind of came into my awareness. I just felt such a resonance as I was planning the summit. I felt such a resonance with your posts and your energy and speaking to relationship dynamics and power dynamics. And I was just very, very curious about you. And we are going to get into the topic of power today and how to really use and connect to the higher mind to create successful partnerships and true power, which I know is a real focal point of Ray's work with his incredible clients. And just to give a little background here for those of you that are new to Ray and his work, Ray is specialist. He specializes in relationship coaching, couples coaching, intimacy and sexuality, dating, life coaching, and career and purpose. His hybrid relationship coaching style combines Western and Eastern techniques. So he's so holistic. I can really feel that in all the different tools that you bring to support clients, including Tibetan bowls, light healing, breath work, all sorts of different energy work, I'm sure. And I can really feel that you are, a catalyst for epic breakthroughs and quantum leaps in all the lives of the incredible people you support. So it's a pleasure to have you with us. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd love to just get started right away with prefacing. I'm asking everybody in the summit, how do you understand quantum leaps, and maybe as it pertains to power? We were speaking a little bit to, power being innately something that you already are and returning to what you are already. But how do you understand quantum leaps and kind of what we all maybe already have access to when it comes to quantum leaps? I'd love to know your take on this term that's thrown around so often.
So I think when the general public, when they think of the quantum leaps, they might be kind of confused with that. But to simplify it, is that there is the third dimensional reality as far as, to make me successful, I will create this sales funnel, or I'll move this bottle over here, and this, or I'll go to school for 8 years, and hopefully by the time I get out, then I'll do an internship, and then I'll become this psychologist, blah, blah, blah. That's the third dimensional reality. It takes forever, and so forth. And yet that's not how you create success or happiness. Quantum leap is where you connect to a state in which you already have arrived. And when you end up doing that, what ends up happening is that you move quickly into that which you really want to create. So at the end of the day, it wasn't about getting, say, licensed. It wasn't really about the doctor. It's about putting me, face to face with clients. Therefore, just by me having an idea, hey, I want to work with people, rather than look at this 8-10 year path, it might be where I meet someone. He says, you know what, you can do this coaching program. You can learn NLP, blah, blah, blah. Within 1 year, all of a sudden I'm seeing clients and feeling good. I'm excited. Then even more energy moves through me where I get excited. Then I go another direction. 8 years later, I'm doing all this stuff. And the other person who's just kind of doing the snail trail, snail path, nothing wrong. Kind of going along, still going, I hope I get to see clients in 8-10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a kind of a tangible, three-dimensional perspective of how to, with linear language, how to understand that. So when you connect to your true power, the universe is conspiring with you. People you bump into in the elevator, there's not a coincidence they happen to be talking about something you're interested in. It's no coincidence when you go on Facebook and you see a particular post, you look at it, maybe the likes are 333, particular numbers, everything. So you start having this kind of momentum, which is what you call maybe that quantum leap. And what you really want to create in your life is happening now. And it never stops. It's not where like you put your happiness on a layaway plan. It's not like you're going to be successful later on. It's when you're already in that resonance now, and you just start seeing life be an extension of that.
Yes, beautiful. Unconditional happiness in the present moment. That's like the main theme here. Your happiness in this now moment is not conditional on some future unexperienced outcome. It's not happening in the mental mental state at all. So let's talk about the higher mind and how this relates to power, specifically in relationships, which I know is a core focus of the way you support people. And I want to also preface that, you know, what is life other than relationship? Like everything in our lives really is a series of relationships, whether it's a relationship to certain ideas that we have or things that we use or people in our lives or our job. I mean, it all is relationships. So it's funny sometimes when I hear people say, I'm a relationship coach. It's like, all of life is a relationship. And I just feel like it's important to affirm that. And tell us about the higher mind and how that pertains to this story of power in relationship.
Well, I'm happy that you mentioned about everything is basically a relationship. You have a relationship to your body, you have a relationship to money, you have a relationship to spirituality, whatever it is. So when I work with clients, what we work on is a relationship blueprint. That doesn't mean love relationships. It could mean that, but it's more how you experience yourself, because how you experience yourself is how you're going to experience the world out there. There's really nothing out there. Like, for example, you're looking at both, you know, me and Sydney, and you could be having a different response while someone else is watching us. One person could be saying, I don't like the way that guy's hair is, or his voice is this way, or it's unconscious. And someone else is like saying, oh, this is amazing. But both of those are truths for those two individuals. So third dimensional reality in and of itself is kind of an illusion, because it's more of what you experience. So the relationship with yourself, if you have negative talk, if you have a lot of disempowered belief systems, then it's going to show up in your life and relationships. So as far as how this is connected to the higher mind is this, is that think of if you want to break it down, like the fundamentals, is that just imagine you have the heart mind, you have the head mind, and you have the higher mind, okay? When you're excited about something, typically it's not about how much you're going to make or how I'm going to get the guy or whatever it is. It's more like, this sounds exciting. There's nothing attached to it and how to get there. It's like, yes. And then that information is, in a way, communicating with your higher mind, because your higher mind probably brought that into your awareness because you're open in that moment and you're receptive to that idea. Versus when you go into the head mind, it's what you know, what's familiar, what you learned, the education. And have you ever thought about this or had this experience? You're like, I'm trying to figure this out, how we're going to do this. And you feel like you're getting a headache. I don't know why he said that. And like you're trying to control the circumstances. Whereas that is pinching off to that which might be available, which comes through the higher mind. So when you're able to move back into the heart and let go, it actually activates, it gives communication literally to the head mind, to whether or not there's any more limited beliefs. If so, it's going to basically shift the frequency, and there might be a discrepancy of how you're operating or not. You'll know that. But when you're clear with, say, the head mind, it's as if the heart and the head mind is just guiding you with your highest excitements. And that's how it works. And so with that is, what's so great about it is that you can have passion that, just say, let's just talk about coaching for a moment. Oh my God, I feel this excitement. You know, I'm not getting paid, but I was able to work with one of my friends for free. And it's so exciting. And like in your higher mind, your heart's going, this is great. And then she says, I want you to work with my friend. It's great. But then there might be the moment goes to the head mind. Why is you not asking for money? You're not a real coach then. The head mind can totally pinch off your energy and give you basically ideas that don't belong. So that's a real big part where my work is. That's most people who understand spiritual language and so forth, or just to say secular people, there's no judgment, is that all of us have these shadows. What we're exposed to, what we heard our parents say to us and everything else, and even in social media, we're all being influenced. And you have no idea how that's making impressions. But how you doubt yourself and how you basically try to overthink things is how we typically pinch off the success we want in relationships, with our health, and with money and everything else. Like, I'll give you an example. The thinnest I've been, I'm actually my high school weight, okay? So people ask,
I love it.
I'm going to be putting on more muscle, but okay, so when I was when I was in my early 20s, I kind of had more of a Mark Wahlberg type of body. So I was muscular, used to be a
Oh, nice
dancer.
comparison.
Okay.
Marky Mark.
Yeah, exactly. I got to do the song now.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when I was saying to myself, people would say, well, you still look really good. I'm like, not the way I used to look, head mind. And it wasn't, I'd go back to like seeing how I look in a picture at a particular age, pinch myself off from the connections and that which could lead me to better health. Then one day I practiced what I preach. I just looked at my body and went, you're gorgeous. You really are a light, beautiful being. I love your body. You've taken me thousands of miles. At that moment, within a week, I got invited to a dinner party, sat next to a ex-professional soccer player. He told me that about cryotherapy. That led me to reduce the inflammation in my body. My body started shredding up. That led to another connection, Here I am today with you, like going, yeah, I'm like 12% body fat without really trying. It happened by connecting back to heart and allowing the higher mind to lead me. That's an example.
Sounds like a quantum leap, my friend.
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really feel that, and I love the tangibility in that example. It's like our mental capacity, our mind is so beautiful, and it's so it just, I like to think of the mind as like it wants to be busy and it wants things to do, but we must intentionally, consciously give it homework. We must give it things to do. It wants to just work and support us and help us. And whether it's committed to helping us stay in survival, which is the case for many of us in an unconscious path, it's just wanting to survive and just stay safe and stay familiar, or if you're wanting to live an extraordinary, incredible life, you must consciously give your mind new material to study, to work on, such as your example with, looking in the mirror and choosing a new thought, choosing a new practice, to give yourself love, to give yourself appreciation, to practice self-acceptance, and to do it diligently. This is the thing, like this kind of rewiring can be so vulnerable, looking at the shadow of, oh, why am I so critical of myself, and also not hanging out there for too long, not going too much into the story or the why even, but even just being willing to look at that, like, oh man, that's sad. I don't want to feel that way about myself. Can I start to love myself? Can I practice self-acceptance? I know that can be so vulnerable. I know that was for me certainly early on in my journey when I realized I couldn't say I love you to myself. I was in an inner child meditation, which is a powerful healing modality, especially with what we're kind of speaking to here. And isn't it just the most incredible feeling to realize that you really are the only thing in the way of having what you want?
Absolutely. And what you said was really beautiful and I want to add to what you said and not get so caught up in the narrative also, because the thing is that the way this works, the actual mechanism of consciousness works, and how you can open yourself up to more, because no matter what, you're going to have experiences of contrast. Nothing is inherently bad unless you put those filters onto it. So just imagine a moment, oh my God, I'm judging myself. How would I prefer to talk to myself? Rather than, I'm judging myself. I'm an asshole for judging myself. I can't believe I judge myself. What human beings have a tendency to do is start just going on that path. The thing is, no matter what, even when you think you're awakened, you're going to become awakened and awakened and awakened.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And that's what Jesus meant by when he said, my Father has many mansions. Is that he's talking about there's many layers of consciousness here and in 5D reality or wherever else we could expand to. It never stops. Even we give up these physical bodies. So what's the hurry? Why the judgment? Take your time. Be patient, compassionate with yourself.
What comes up when you work with people, especially who are in judgment mode or the criticism? I mean, man, it could be so, I'm just having so much compassion in this moment, because I remember that used to appear to be the dominant voice in my mind. And I know so many people live like this, where it's like the dominant voice that you're aware of, if you're even aware of it at all, and you start to tune in, might be like the meanest voice that you can't even believe is on repeat in your own mind, criticizing you, motivating you with fear and putting you down and wanting you to do better and never enough and whatever it is. And I remember first starting to listen when I started to meditate, and it was excruciatingly painful to hear that voice. And I could have compassion for why so many people probably don't want to meditate or think meditation doesn't work because, oh my God, that voice, that energy, I don't even want to listen. It's so gross, so I'm curious if you actually have experience with that in your own path and what that was like for you, just starting to become aware of that, if there was self-criticism or self-judgment that you had to work through, maybe in igniting your initial quantum leaps, or if that's even something that still comes online for you. I'm curious about that.
Well, basically the experiences I had growing up, it's where I created circumstances to separate me from first kids, other kids. I grew up with my legs when I was starting to walk. I literally had to have Forrest Gump braces on my legs. Like I had literally and then also my father suffered with PTSD. And so because of that, I suffered with trichotillomania, which I was pulling my hair out at night when I was sleeping. I had bald spots. So made fun of, see myself being separate, not like them, wanted to be liked and so forth. But that separation was also become aware of seeing myself and how I wanted to be there versus right here. I can see how that was basically a way for me to step into who I was, maybe by myself first, to step into a leadership role. But also what that did too is I remember at the age of 9 is when I started really connecting to people by being very risky, by doing crazy things at school, by making people laugh. And that's when I really stepped into my Leohood and where I realized I had a way of making people laugh and entertain them. But even that was a persona. That was an archetype. And I continued, became a star football player, played in a band, and even Dr. Ray at one point was a persona, an idea. So many times people, even if they go the direction of becoming successful, they still are not authentically them. They're more the idea of not trying to be like what they are made fun of or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to this. And you asked me this question about self-judgment. What I do with clients, typically my first session, is I do a very simple process of helping them understand kind of like how a judgment is even formed in the first place. And what I mean by this is like that. So I have a 4-year-old son, okay? And when he grabbed a strawberry for the first time and sunk his teeth into it, his face lit up like, oh my God, like he just like had like the sweetest candy.
No.
He would put a difference because it was the first time him having that experience. So it was the experience of joy. There was nothing negative to it. It was nothing attached to it, whatever. It just somehow really resonated with him. It wasn't anything in this way, okay? Now let's take a different thing. First time he heard a fire truck, he covered his ears and thought it was something maybe scary and so forth. But I looked at him and tuned in with him and said, they help us. So now he draws an association to fire truck being safe. So that's an environment to make sure those around him are making sure that he's safe. And also remember, he depends on adults for us to like him, to validate him, so he's sheltered, fed, and protected. So we keep going up with different things that happen in life where we see the hot stove and we look at our parents. And sometimes we might be running and we fall down and we actually are hurt. We get up and they say, you're okay. And so we're thinking, but we hurt. We don't understand that they just want to connect us so we don't cry. They're making it about their pain versus us creating a healthy attachment to the pain in our body to realize, no, I actually hurt. And through our interaction with our environment, there's mixed messages. There's judgment for our parents might pull back when we're a particular way. We might not feel safe if we act differently. And for example, tantrums are typically when we're not heard. There's this pent up energy. Many of us have experienced some type of form of neglect. So with that, when you say you think you blew it at a job, when you broke up with a girlfriend or boyfriend and like you start having these doubts and whatever else, there's this primal biology taken over you, and it's like whereas if you have to fix things to fit in, to basically you have to, there's this idea, if you're not right, you basically are not lovable, you're not worthy. So we try more and more, say, to be better, to look thinner, to do this, to do that. It's more and more and more. That's that conversation. It's as if we feel as though our sense of self is by people liking us.
Yep. Yeah.
And when you learn that you don't need to be liked by everybody, when you learn that people have their own story, it's a lot easier to like look at yourself and go, what is likable about me without what someone might think? What is likable about me when I was like always in trouble, but I was a really creative kid? What was likable about me when maybe I wasn't good at football, but I was really good at this? What was, because our story is typically, there's a lot of good experiences, but we're comparing it with others. And when it falls short, we think less about ourselves. And that continues as adults. That's the judgment.
Wow. So much yes, and everything you're sharing. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite teachers in the realm of addiction, actually, and intimacy. Gabor Mate talks about, in essence, when we have the option of, experiencing attachment or authenticity, from a human needs perspective, we will choose attachment or attention or validation, right? So it's like, here we are in this awakening moment where people are wondering, what's my purpose and how can I live authentically? But really the deep human need is love, and to be validated and to feel safe and to feel whole. But there's this whole reprogramming occurring right now, I think, in the mass consciousness where, people are really, it's time to look at yourself and ask, oh my gosh, where am I externalizing my worth and my value and looking for this? It's like insatiable. Like if you're in the people-pleasing program and fundamentally operating from this core wound of I'm not enough, or you didn't receive the love that you really needed from your parents when you were younger, and it's just been unconsciously driving your life, trying to chase more success, more external things to validate you being enough, being okay. It's like, it's never enough. It will never be enough. I know this path very, very well. And then eventually at a certain point, it's like, oh, authenticity. Maybe there's something there, but that can be a long road to that moment, that kind of, it's an internalization. It's like, wait a minute, I got to look within here. I got to see what's going on here. What part of me am I not fully loving? Wait, I'm the one that I've been waiting for to actually love and appreciate and accept myself. And that's where, again, it can be very, very vulnerable. And I actually feel that's where our true power lies. I mean, that I feel in my experience, I allow so much power to radiate through my being. I allow so much more energy to flow. The more that I'm willing to look inside and look internal and look at, okay, where am I giving my power away to what other people think, to how I look, to what I think other people are thinking. I mean, that whole loop, right? And it's like, it's astounding how that actually never ends. Like that, just like you said, the journey with that, for me especially, that's one of my biggest core wounds, shall we say, is that abandonment wound. And so then always seeking for people to know that I'm not alone, to know that you see me, to know that I exist. And the layers that unfold with that journey, it's astounding. It's really, I'm so humbled by it, this experience.
Are you saying that you still have that come up for you sometimes? The
Sure. Yeah, I notice it. And I'm comfortable with it. Like, it's not like I'm hoping to just end the race here and it'll just be done and gone someday. There's different facets of the shadow, and I notice it and I catch it and I don't react to it, and I don't let it run my life in the way that I used to. I don't make decisions, in the way that I used to, that would be so oriented to solely, what do I think other people are going to think about this? Like I can see it, I can catch it oftentimes even momentarily, and just change and, act according to my desire. And it really actually doesn't take up so much energy most often in my life, but it's there. And I feel like it's important to speak to that, like for people that are especially on the this beautiful awakening journey, that these shadows that we have are maybe going to be with us forever. It's not like you heal and you're just done and it's the end of the game, but maybe the real quantum leap is transmuting and becoming fully aware, not even transmuting, just becoming fully aware that this is my shadow. This is a wound that I have because this is my upbringing. This is a thing that I got, you know, from how I was around with my parents. This is what I learned. And it used to be really unconscious and used to run my life. And it's still there. It's still kind of there sometimes. And it will come up like this. And sometimes it'll sound like this and it'll feel like this. And I feel it in this part of my body. And when it comes up, I know it's because I'm expanding into a new space in my life. I know it's because I'm probably coming into more power and more visibility and doing something I really care about. So maybe that energy is getting activated as an old protection mechanism. You know, that's what I kind of reorient myself to nowadays. I'm like, oh, this is happening because I'm expanding. I'm about to go into the quantum leap. So all the old little coping mechanisms can get activated.
You mentioned about maybe sharing something at the end of this, but I was wondering if you'd be open to me kind of, not like necessarily a process with you, but another perspective.
Oh, I love that. Yes, please. I'm so open to that. Yes.
So what you said, there's truth in what you said for you, and I wanted to add to that is, so most of the time when people work on their stuff, I want you to imagine this piece of paper is a tabletop. When I say tabletop, just imagine this is the apparent reality. This is my abandonment issue. This is what my parents did or whatever. And underneath this table is 4 legs. And imagine the 4 legs are like a transparent belief that actually holds this table up. Most people only see this, and this is why this is activated, when if you find the transparent belief that this will never show up. And I'm saying this because a big part of my work is, on average, most clients see me only 4 to 8 times, and that's it. I'm talking about very, very difficult cases. Some people have been in therapy for 15 to 20 years.
Yes.
So, for example, just imagine this is a table, and the belief is that because my parents abandoned me, therefore I have this particular attachment style, or I have this experience when, say, I don't get the attention I want. I would ask questions such as this. What would you have to believe about yourself to be abandoned in the first place? One leg might say, well, I'm not lovable. So in that would be, it's an I statement, but I am lovable. The next leg might be that I have the idea, my sense of self is by how someone loves me. That's not a truth, really. That goes away. Another transparent belief might be, you know, I was told this by a psychologist. It's just kind of what I noticed in this, that. Oh, the idea itself is creating a reality which I'm charged by situation like this. Oh, just me thinking about this perpetuates that. Oh, that's another thing. Then another thing might be where that I don't feel like I can do things on my own. So when these people go, I really feel like, oh my God, I really have to now step into my power. So typically when I work with a client is that we get through those transparent beliefs that whatever that situation is, it is gone. I've seen those gone over 6,000 times, 6,000 clients.
Yes.
Just wipes it out.
The table disappears.
Yeah. So it's first, most people will have disempowered belief systems. He did it to me. God damn it. Blah, blah, blah. I can't believe in this way. All men are cheaters, or whatever the story is. The next one is a little work. The parent belief system. That is, I think this is because, you know, I had this in my childhood, blah, blah, blah. The next level is a transparent belief system. Typically that wipes it out. So yes, things might be activated. No matter what, a person could appear in the linear language as going through the same stuff in his lifetime by what human beings see. We don't know what's being activated in that person. So we really don't know. We really don't know. So, but a person can also wipe that stuff out just like that too.
Yes.
Because remember, you're always constantly changing, including when you get off this call with me, you're a different person. And if you forgot everything you were the last 20 years of your life, it would be really hard to keep the continuity.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I mean, if you
Yes.
literally, your memory is gone, and here's the truth in this. There are people who have multiple personalities, and one personality has a tumor, the other one doesn't. When they switch, the tumor goes away when it's in the other person who doesn't have it. And when it goes back to the other person again, tumor shows up. How does that happen? What's happened to the energy body to create that? And if you can have a tumor appear and disappear, I'm sure you can get rid of an emotional wound.
Yeah, we can create anything that we. So something I'll presence, even as I just spoke to that and shared. I actually gave some power away to this story that, you know, I have an original core wound that I will be carrying, and, you know, that will be activated still in my life at various times. And I'll be very present right now with something I'm evolving through, because actually my present moment experience is that I feel more sovereign and embodied in my wholeness than I've ever felt before. I feel really grounded in my true self. I feel very grounded in my heart. I feel deeply connected to my intuition. I feel extremely open to channeling, you know, everything that's available to me in this present moment in service to my soul and service to the collective. And I feel so much love. I feel really, really beautiful. And I witnessed that something I'm letting go of is a tendency to speak to these older aspects and older experience as a way to be of service to what I perceive other people are going through, to be relatable, to kind of actually be in a little bit of a trauma bond, which is an old conditioning as well, stemming from, guess what, abandonment and wanting to have attachment and to be understood and to be connected with others who I recognize are, you know, maybe going through certain things that I've gone through in the past. So wanting to validate, you know, like, you can trust me, I went through this too. And I, you know, maybe still feel this way sometimes. So there's just something I'm navigating in this moment still. And my desire is to be in such an authentic expression that I no longer need to even validate those old parts of self to try to save anyone or convince anyone or have anybody, you know, elicit validation or connection, actually, and just speak my truth fully and give people the invitation, honestly, to join if they resonate or not. So that's what and I communicate that way, I feel, more often than not, that I'm just presencing evolution in this moment, noticing, like, even when I talk about the old wounding stuff, it doesn't actually even resonate as much anymore. It's really interesting.
And you'll know also if you feel crappy, you are in that state and you just now created that. So it's great that you were able to do this, you know, like live with me in this real time moment and experience that, because there's another truth I understand through healing is that whatever story we have come up with, if we can think about just right now at whatever, however old we are, let's say, like, there's most of the people watching this right now are at least 21 years old to say 50 years old. Let's give an example. And I think all of us have had maybe a relationship where we were hurt and so forth. And then we're unsure how we one day forgot about that heartbreak. We really don't know. We can't say it was time. We just don't know. Somehow it went away. It's just not there. We don't know how that happened. Also, you can never find a linear story really to figure out what went wrong. Now, take that as an adult and go, how would I even know what I was interpreting when I was 1, 2, 3, 4? What the fuck? Like, how could you know? So, and the thing is this, it could be like this, like your father or someone's father could be a pilot. And so daddy is loving and doing his best, but he's gone for 4 days, you know, out of the week and whatever. So he disappears. That becomes the norm. And someone gives this idea where your daddy's never around. And then they start putting this idea, maybe that's it, when it's maybe that mommy's actually sad that daddy's gone. And it's just you're feeling mommy's energy rather than this other story. Who knows? And the reality is that daddy's not abandoning you. It's that something you're feeling disempowered by something feels icky. You might be a sponge to mommy. Who knows? All we know is that, what does it feel like in your body? What do you want to do with that? You know, how do you want to feel? We don't have to get so caught up on the linear story because we just don't know. And if you're watching this right now, your higher mind led you here anyway by default. So just get over it anyway.
I love it. Yes, it's the shortcut. The shortcut. The quantum leap, really, the quantum leap begins when you're ready to be fully present with yourself. Let go of any of the old stories. Let go of all that energy that you're just draining, trying to find evidence about stories that need to make sense, and you need to feel safe and control. And can you take a deep breath and really feel into your own heart and feel into your own center and ask, what do I want right now? What do I desire? What would be the most fun way for me to play today in my life? What would be the most fun way for me to share? What do I want to create? What do I love? You know, asking yourself these kinds of questions is another incredible way to empower the higher mind, your soul, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, start giving it homework to imagine infinite possibility, infinite potential. This is where your genius gets to be expressed. This is where genuine, like, new innovation can come through. This is where you might really surprise yourself. Like, wait a minute, really? I want to do that? That's totally new. Really? Okay, let's do it.
There's certain words that you're using throughout this talk that I use, and one was evidence.
Yeah.
So the Parvis, that primal biology is trying to make sense of things. How about this? Just this example.
Sure.
Have you ever just like shouted or were a particular way and you front load the apology? Oh, I was going through a lot with my family right now, so I'm sorry I act like an asshole, blah, blah, blah. In that moment, you're thinking that it wasn't appropriate to release an energy because of how you still think others will see you. Once again, they won't love me, I won't be fed, I can die as a child again. When you find yourself trying to somewhat front load stories by validating why you're upset, in that moment, you're denying yourself actually.
Yes.
So I want to really emphasize on it. Trying to find evidence more and often is a way to give validation to that which is already validated. And then two, big one here. And this one I can say because I was trained, you know, originally as a clinical psychologist, because they're all about the narrative and the story. And that's why I don't see much change with people. Is this, and people say, well, don't you need to talk about the past, or isn't this a spiritual bypass? No, it's not. This is how it goes. So keep in mind that you think you have memory. You think that because this thing had happened, that you are the way that you are. However, if you haven't integrated that situation or you're becoming now, of course you still experience that. So in the now moment, just in this now moment, a simple integration could be like this. Yeah, my dad used to yell at me. He used to be verbally abusive. I didn't like that. And, you know, I found myself sometimes doing it with some ex-girlfriends, and that's not how I want to be. And like, how do I want to be? My dad was disempowered. I felt disempowered, and I turned into this like rageaholic. That's not who I am. I want to experience love. Yeah, I was doing the best I can. It's okay to be me. I love me. This is okay. That I did that in 35 seconds is an integration right there. That's not spiritual bypass. That's me saying, okay, maybe this influenced me. I don't know. I became like him. I act like an asshole for a moment. Oh well. I have compassion myself. This is how I like to feel. This is good. I'm going to be on this path. And you crystallize it. You practice it every day. That's how I work with clients. That's why I said I work with clients typically. We work on the stories they've been telling themselves. Then I guess we kind of put in the new story they want. And then maybe the other sessions might be, how do I live now that I'm positive? Because I've been living like a victim most of my life. Seriously, like, so there's very little work with pulling out the weeds. It's more like, how can I live now that now I have this potentiality?
Don't focus on pulling out the weeds when you have all this like infinite space to just go plant a whole new garden and start fresh. Do whatever you want. What you said was so powerful. The part about not giving power away to like almost invalidating that which is already validated. It's like such a loop deloop that can be happening unconsciously where you're like needing to justify feeling, you know, and it's like a feeling or an emotion, energy and motion that wants to be expressed doesn't need a validation, doesn't need to be rationalized. You know, it simply wants to move. It simply wants to be expressed and felt. And so often, including, I believe, the cause of, you know, most physical disease, if not all physical disease in the body, is a result of this repressed energy not being allowed to flow freely. In the moment when you have an impulse, by the way, your body is designed to be in natural, vibrant health and well-being, and it has impulses to express energy, to express trauma, to express, pain that wants to move out. And then whenever you're shutting it down because you feel like, I don't know if that's going to make people uncomfortable, or if that's going to look okay, or if people are going to trust me if I freak out, or whatever your judgment is about what freaking out means, all of the things, right? It's like we're so complex when it comes down to that. But it's like anytime you're repressing that energy from moving is holding a trauma in the body. But then guess what? The mind is like gonna go collect evidence for that as to why that feeling is still there, why the energy is there. It has to make sense of it. And it could be that you carry that for a long time. I don't know, 25 years maybe, until one day you realize, you go through a process like you just demonstrated so beautifully. Wait, I want to love myself. I want to be in love. I want to be present. Oh man, when I say that, where do I feel a pain in my heart? I feel a tension in my heart. I feel a tightness in my chest. Can I breathe into that space? And that may have been that repressed energy that you've been carrying for whole life, a protection mechanism to protect yourself from not actually receiving love, because I don't want to get this love if I'm going to lose it, eventually, because my parents weren't really around to, cultivate that clear interdependence and, that connection. So I just want to don't even give it to me if I'm just going to lose it, if it's going to be taken away, heart block. And then 25 years later, you're like, why can't I be in intimate relationships? Why is this so hard? But so I love the way we're oversimplifying some of these things, but it really does feel so simple, when you come back to this,
it is simple,
this opportunity to feel. Yeah.
We already create the complexity in our mind, so why not make the process letting it go simple?
Yeah.
A way to, every person, I would say that at least in Western culture, who is judging him or herself, it's typically with like comparing yourself to someone else who maybe you see it has more. It could be your body. It could be like where you think you are versus where they are. And the thing is that, remember, through different generations, that through social norms, that literally has programming to our neurobiology. And what I mean by that is this. I'm just going to go there and be transparent. So when I was younger and just kind of throughout my life, and then my parents are a lot older, I can see that their generation gave a lot more validation to somebody was handsome. Just that, just being handsome. And so when you think about it on our planet, how much value we might give to celebrities or models as if it's like something more worthy, when the simple person walking the lady across the street is not, earning an Oscar or whatever else. We as a culture, we give more validation or whatever it is, like value judgments, positive value judgments to things that most people will maybe never be. A professional football player.
There we go. Sorry, my Wi-Fi just cut out. We can just continue and I can edit that part out.
Okay. What part do you remember it cutting out on? Because I started talking about
most people are validated. It's like we externally validate. We're just conditioned so deeply to provide, externally validate people based on appearance. Most often, like, people aren't going to be a professional football player or, celebrity, and yet we don't really value like the average other human being. We're like taught to externalize everything based on superficial appearances. And you were talking about how most people aren't going to be a professional football player like Tony Robbins or,
Yeah, exactly. And here's the interesting thing is that doing this work for a really long time, I have worked with celebrities. I happened to be at the park yesterday with Jennifer Gardner, and she's just like a very normal, I go like almost like another like housewife or a very normal down-earth person. It's like, and I've seen celebrities as clients, they have just the same problems or even more. It might look like they have more money and they can travel, but remember, wherever you travel, there you are. So the person who travels the furthest or feels the happiest is the one who's feeling happy inside wherever he or she is. It's just that. This is what this work is about, because the thing is also, when you feel it here, you have a tendency to create it out there. You get invited to do things without maybe having to buy that ticket. You end up being able to experience a lifestyle that you think Tony Robbins has without having all that stress and being Tony Robbins. I mean, it's really about connecting to the state of love, and that is where you would want to be. And these other people and stuff like that, that's an idea. That's an archetype. That's a persona, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't mean that who you think they are makes them happy.
Do you know what one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard, and I actually got this on I found it on a t-shirt in Bali at one of my favorite yoga studios, and I remember seeing it on the rack, and I was like, this is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. And it just says in big letters, "You are what you think I am."
Yeah, I think I saw that. Did you take a picture of it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's so good. I'm like, this is so good. Oh my gosh. And it just unravels that whole loop of, like, why would I ever think that it makes any sense to determine my life, my actions, based on what I think you're thinking? Because every person is coming at life with a totally different perspective. Even if, you're psychic, it's going to be challenging to even really feel into how someone is seeing you, let alone like, how would I even make that mean anything about me? Like, it doesn't actually fully make sense when you fully play the tape all the way through. It's just this unconscious survival mechanism learned, again, usually probably age 2, 3, 4, when you're just a little kid, and you're like, oh, when mom is happy, when she likes me, that means she loves me. That means I'm okay. That means I'm good. Literally, that can be playing out for a whole lifetime.
Yeah, and then say it's a guy who and his girlfriend just needs some space, walks outside, then he has what you might call the abandonment stuff, when it's more that you never gain your sense of power within yourself. You attach that with your mother. So is it abandonment, or is it disempowering yourself because you think your happiness is contingent on someone's happy mood?
Conditional. Conditional. So, and thank you for sharing the belief table exercise with us earlier. That was a beautiful reference point that I find to be very helpful, especially for just like I even just did in this moment, to see how so many of the beliefs that you may be allowing to run your life don't even really make sense when you actually say them out loud, when you actually say, wait a minute, I don't actually even really believe this. It's just been like loop de-looping, and I haven't had a moment to question it and finally let it go. And I'm curious, Ray, if you have any other or maybe even one powerful activation or tool, suggestion that comes to mind when we're supporting people in cultivating that, self-love and self-acceptance, and, stepping again out of judgment and just starting to be more comfortable in presence with themselves and kind of cultivating that inner loving dialogue.
So you mentioned something here about sometimes even asking the right questions can activate your higher mind.
Yes.
So I even wrote some stuff out here. I have it typed up here. So this would be an example. Of course, I'm going to say this quickly. You can, rewind this and play it back. But so I have this broken down like 3 little categories. One is identifying the pattern, identifying your needs in the situation, discovering other possible realities. So identifying the patterns might be, how do they feel when this happens? How does my body, shortness of breath, tension, respond when this happens? How do I behave when this happens? How do others behave around me when this happens? What do I typically say to the person when this happens? What do I wish I had said when this happens? What do I say to myself about the person or situation after this happens? Just, that's kind of looking at the pattern, not judging it, but just that. Identifying your need in a situation. What do I feel I need from this person in the situation? How do I prefer to feel with this person or the situation? So for example, if I felt the need to be loved by my father, if he were to be negative towards me, then it would bother me. But if I already feel the love now, he can be him, grouchy sometimes and happy sometimes, doesn't matter. I'm connected to source in him in a real love, not the idea of his moods being the barometer as far as if there's a connection. Do you understand? So if the conversation's complete here, it'll be in the situation. So back to the needs. How do I feel my life would benefit if this person or situation were to agree with me? What more do I need to know about this person or situation? Might be nothing. Those are questions to like identify maybe your needs and situation. The very last one is discovering other possibilities or realities. And that is what I'm feeling and thinking factual, or are there other possibilities? In my way from enjoying this very moment. And that's a very powerful thing. Like just that one there. I sometimes have been in social circumstances where maybe I'm still trying to vibe with the people, and I go to the head mind going, I don't really know these people. Hey, some of these people are on drugs or blah, 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 blah. I stop that. I'm going, wait a minute, I'm trying to make it about them to make me feel good. Then I ask myself this: what is really in my way from enjoying this moment? Just that statement alone, I start laughing. I'm right there. I'm like, me. And even in that place, I might go, I feel okay, but do I want to be here? At that moment, I move to higher mind and might go, you're okay. Maybe stay 15 minutes, but it's not like it's bad. I'm not going to make it about them. I become self-empowered again, and therefore I choose to navigate in that or leave.
Oh my God, I relate to that so much. It's so good. And sometimes if you're really honest about that question, it's like, oh, I don't really want to be here.
Yeah.
I'm in this place I don't really want to be in. Why did I think I had to be here to be like,
yeah. I feel uncomfortable because I forced myself to be here. So therefore, how could I even be happy when I'm going against my own boundaries?
Yeah, it's so good. Oh my God, so amazing. Wow. Ray, thank you so much. This has been such a rich, incredible conversation. I kind of feel like we're just scratching the surface of like so many really big topics. I mean, we went into family constellations, inner child, trauma, somatic release. I mean, all of my favorite things. And you're just such a wealth of wisdom. And I so appreciate the tangible support also that you offered, and we'll make sure all that's included here in the notes of this episode, so people can really start to interact with this material and start to apply these questions in their life and do the belief table exercise, and we'll include all those great resources. And for people that want to connect with you and learn more about your work and maybe work with you in some capacity, how can they get in touch with you? And do you have anything specific you'd like to share, and anything maybe even upcoming or current programs that you'd like to share about?
Well, the best way to reach me would be going to my website, and depending on when this is viewed, who knows what will be up there. But first off, I do have a book called Your Relationship Blueprint. And it's free, and you just go to my website. It's RAYDOKTOR.com, Ray Doctor, spelled with a K, TOR.com. And you can download the book. It actually has 2 exercises. So it takes you through a process to ask these particular questions, and also leads you out to kind of really crystallize more of who you want to be. Simple little process, simple read. I think that's only 15 pages. Awesome. And that would be a great way to start all of this. It's all there.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your incredible energy. And I'm so grateful to know you and to have had the chance to drop in more. And I'm excited to co-create with you and just support each other in our amazing journeys. It's an honor to be on this transition ascension team with you. It's such an honor.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your transparency. It's it happens sometimes when I do these interviews, people go into their deeper stuff and they don't want to really go there. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but you allow yourself to be vulnerable. And it's not like I try to pick at people, but the thing is that, as you know, the greatest learning when it's happening right now in that moment. You know what I mean? Because I know people are going to watch as they go, man, I would have put up a wall, or I would have been uncomfortable with that. And, or some might go, wow, I could just drop into that and be okay with that. You know what I mean? Be okay with it. It doesn't have to be that hard. Who cares? It's all about going back to your authentic self and feeling good and create what you really want.
Yes, yes.
And that's where the power is.
Yeah, and that exactly is what I was going to say. You got it. That's it. That's our true power. Our true power is, like in the moment, being willing to be all of who you are. And I mean, I'm actually really proud of myself again, like how I can demonstrate that, to demonstrate that in the moment. Oh, I gave my power away to this old way of being, and I'm going to take that back right now. I'm going to claim it. I'm going to own it. I'm going to embody, presence and authenticity now. And as a result, might I add too, because I was willing to be in that state of vulnerability and openness, I allowed more intimacy to be created between you and I. Like, I personally feel much closer to you now. And I feel like, oh, I want to deepen this connection and see what else we might be able to co-create. And creativity has been, unlocked, and it feels really beautiful. And I can feel everyone who's listening too feeling that too. You feel that closeness. And I mean, I feel like that's
I trust you.
after.
I trust you more. I trust you more. I trust you more. And
Yeah.
I trust that I desire transparency and authenticity, because I have my moments. And so if you're able to do that with me, then I imagine that you can hold space for me also.
Yeah, so beautiful how this works. I love it. I love embodying what we're teaching and sharing. It's really the ultimate teaching. So yay, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for another incredible transmission. And thank you again, Ray. I love you so much. Everybody take care. See you soon.
Bye.